Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today with Splunk on Remote Work Insights. My name's Danielle Chapman. I work in the marketing team here at Bytes, and today I'm joined by David Dow, who is Data Management Specialist at Bytes, and Rupert Treeman, who is Sales Engineer at Splunk. So with that, I'm just going to hand over to David, who's just going to go through the agenda and provide a little bit of an intro.
Good morning, everyone. As Danielle said, my name is David Dow. I work here at Bytes within the data management team. I'm also responsible for the relationship between Splunk and Bytes. So the agenda, we're going to have an intro to Splunk, the Splunk solutions, the remote working insight, a demo of the application, followed by a Q&A session. Just briefly, so Bytes have a long-standing relationship with Splunk. When you look at their capabilities as an end-to-end platform, data platform, there's nobody in the market that can compete with them, and that's why many of our customers consume their technology. We currently find ourselves in an extremely different world to where we were just a couple of months ago. Bytes as a business have helped many of our customers to really enable home and remote user working. Some organisations were ready to go, but others needed help to allow them to shift into the world we see ourselves in now. Providing laptops and other hardware along with technologies to allow remote working, we have partnered with many best-of-breed vendors to deliver these solutions, ensuring that data is available, visible and secure. Today we want to take this opportunity to discuss with you how Splunk can help with all of these. Shortly I will hand over to Rupert, who will provide an intro into Splunk, an overview of the Remote Insights app and a quick demo. I'll be back at the end of the call to answer any questions you may have. So I'll now pass you over to Rupert.
Thanks, David, and thanks, Danielle. I shall show my screen now. There we go. Yep. So as David introduced, my name is Rupert Treeman. I am a solutions engineer at Splunk. I've been at Splunk for about 9 months now, and my work is based around working with customers to identify what it is, the technical problems they're trying to solve, and that could be, as you'll see today from Splunk, any one of a broad number of issues, and working with them to see how Splunk can solve those particular issues. Today, I'm going to be, as was previously outlined, talking a little bit about Splunk itself, so what it does as a broader platform. It's essential to sort of cover that before we go into the specifics of how we can go through Remote Work Insights. So bear with me if you're someone who's reasonably familiar with Splunk. Followed by Remote Work Insights again. So the specifics of what we've been doing in terms of trying to help customers who are clearly in a period of extreme need at the moment, and it's sort of unprecedented challenges that we're all facing. A bit of a demonstration, and then covering at the end the concept of an Autobahn. So I wouldn't worry too much about that terminology. Essentially what it is it's, again, some ways in which we're trying to support prospects and customers by enabling them to get free Splunk, so charge free for 90 days, and really ensure that they're able to ensure that the engagement, efficiencies of their workers are still being maintained, and that people are able to ensure they're working in a secure way. So to begin, just a bit of background in terms of who we are at Splunk, what we do, what challenges we try and help different businesses with, and why you should care and why it's important. So at the moment, we're in a period of extremely interesting technological refactoring and transforming. So there's a number of different processes and these might be different things that you guys are doing at your business in terms of digital transformation, but these are all areas which are opening up new areas of connectivity from businesses, and areas which are ensuring that businesses are able to adapt to these changing times. So ranging from things like virtualization and cloud. Clearly, cloud strategies, virtualization are huge at the moment. The ability to have that flexibility and manage your infrastructure remotely is clearly never been more important than it is currently. And then going into sort of advanced areas such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, VR, these areas which allow people to take driven insights from their data using the power of the CPU and the computer that's in front of them. All of these areas that you see here are around ensuring that we can take as much, we can analyze the tools in front of us in the best way possible, but also that we can access them and we can access the information that we need to in the shortest period of time. It's about enabling companies to unlock the meaningful insights that are in front of them and taking purposeful action. But what all of this innovation, all of this digital transformation actually means is that there's a huge development in terms of the data that's available to us and the implications of what we could be doing with that data. It's something that's being increasingly talked about, is data and how you can get your value from it. It may be something that you're already doing in your business, but the truth is that it's only just begun in terms of allowing operational decisions to be made from the data that's in front of you, and all of these cool systems you've got, ranging from the cloud to applications and infrastructure and technologies, all in front of you, ensuring that you're able to develop and use those as best possible. And what confounds and adds to this situation even more so is the challenges that have been presented in recent months by COVID-19. So digital transformation is not new. It's something that businesses have been working on, is at the forefront of their mind for a long time. But the pandemic has drastically accelerated the trends that we're seeing across the market. And these are not just necessarily technology or security problems, but also ones that have real business implications to the C-suite and across the company. So, in particular, the one that has drawn a number of you to today's presentation is remote working. In recent years, many organisations have started to have more flexible remote policies and hire more distributed workforces. Some industries have been somewhat resistant to that, but clearly COVID-19 has drastically accelerated this change. It sort of forced it upon us. And we believe that it's here to stay. A recent Gartner survey showed that 74% of CFOs expect to shift some workers to be working remotely permanently. And this new remote world brings challenges. So how can we ensure workforce productivity is maintained? How can we ensure that working from home environments are kept secure? How can we ensure that the applications and the tools that our workers rely on to get their work done are maintained? And if there's an issue, we know about it as quickly as possible. And in terms of how these problems can be solved, a huge area is around making sure that businesses are able to operationalize their data, as you might expect from a business like ours, which is all about ensuring that the prospects are able to use their data as best they can. The solution that we put forward to this is indeed using and operationalizing your data. As you might expect, the data itself shows that companies that prioritize operationalizing their data see increased transformative outcomes than those that don't. This is from an ESG study, what is your data worth? And it suggests that the businesses who are able to harness their data and say that they are making decisions off the back of it are experiencing a 12.5% increase in annual gross profit, are 10 times more likely to generate more than 20% of their revenue from new offerings, and meet or exceed their customer retention targets 97% of the time. You're likely to expect that this is the case, and these are all quite sort of business-driven numbers, but they back up the reality that being able to harness your data and being able to take action off of it is incredibly important, and that's something which will be across your business. In particular, as we talk about today, ensuring that you're able to adapt to remote working in the best way possible. So why isn't everyone doing this? If it's so brilliant, if there's so many benefits to it, why are more businesses not doing this? Well, the truth is that turning real-time data into action is hard. While it's critically important to do this, it's challenging because, especially as we go forward and we have hybrid and cloud environments, and businesses have data lakes and silos, and teams that are looking at particular endpoint tools and have perhaps a very concrete view on that area, but not on other ones. It creates massively distributed data environments where businesses struggle to get a handle on all of that data and what's available to them. Even if you've got sort of massive budgets and massive teams, that can only sort of compound the issue further by making it difficult to get all of those teams together and all of their data together to ensure you've got that end-to-end journey of here's an issue, here are the systems affected, here's how it's gone for our networks, our applications, our infrastructure. Have we got that end-to-end picture? Quite often, before businesses are able to reach this point, the only time that everyone will be in one room together and able to actually get that end-to-end picture is when something catastrophic come in, everyone's been dragged into a war room and being asked, okay, who's messed up here, what's happened? But the reality is that there is a better way of doing this, and that's why at Splunk we have created the data to everything platform. So this is designed to remove barriers, as we said there, the various barriers there are between data and action, so that people, businesses can turn their data into doing. And all of this in real time. And when we say everything, we mean that we're here to bring data to every question, every decision, every action. This has so many thousands of use cases, but broadly we see this being done from an IT operations perspective. So how is our infrastructure doing? Are we at risk of something going down? What are the services that would be affected by that? From a security point of view, have we had a security incident? Have we had a breach? How can we find out about something that looks suspicious and is being detected via the power of artificial intelligence, so that we're not in a situation where we react to it and we hear about it from a newspaper or an online news media site in the next couple of days? We want to be on top of that. From a DevOps perspective, so how is the versioning of the applications you're building? How is that being received by the customer base? Are you experiencing issues in terms of people not being able to access certain applications with certain models, certain tools, certain hardware? And there's so many more. The goal really is on our part to enable Splunk customers and Splunk users to bring data to every business outcome that they want to solve. And we want to enable businesses to act on their data they have, but you can't do this without context. So that's why we built a universal machine data platform. We can take any human readable data that you can direct at Splunk. It can be the most structured data, the most unstructured data. It can all go in. It can come from any source. So we have a number of different ways of bringing that data in, from applications, from IoT devices, from traditional servers. Anything in your business that's generating data, you can use to bring that data into Splunk, and at any time scale as well. So whether it's data that's coming in right now at real time, so actually be able to see live what's going on with your business, and that's something we can do, or looking back years ago for compliance reasons, or if you want to see perhaps, again, this is something on the security side of things really interesting. If you want to see everything that's happened with a particular threat or a particular entity over long periods of time, Splunk enables you to do that. So it's the ability to look at what you're trying to solve from regardless of where it is in your infrastructure, and look back over a period of time and enable you to make the best decision possible. And that's because we were founded on the premise in the mid noughties of making investigations fast and flexible. So there is no sort of back-end structure to the data you send into Splunk. There isn't a rigid schema that you apply it to. We use schema on the fly, which means that when you want to investigate something, it doesn't have to be something that is defined as the reason you're using that data for. which means particularly in times like this where you're looking at things from a remote working perspective that you might never have considered that you would use the data in your repository for. You can adapt to that. You can ask the questions that you need to when you have to do that. Again, the ability on real time means that you're not in a position where you're going away and having to build a report. It takes 3 weeks to do, and then you look at the report and you need a slightly different change to it. So you go away and send another report to get 3 weeks away. With Splunk, you can see what's going on right now as it's happening. Fast time to value. There's a huge element of Splunk, which is that it's this broad platform, but it's built on with lots and lots of different applications and add-ons that do specific things. I'll talk about that more a little bit later with another slide, but that's quite important to understand, especially when we're talking around remote working insights, that the solutions that we're offering are free solutions for remote working insights. This is not something that we're trying to generate loads of revenue off the back of crisis. It's not ambulance chasing. There's a number of free solutions that we're offering around remote working insights that are all about extending the base value of Splunk you've got underneath it and the power that's available there. And also massive scale. So the biggest customer that we have at Splunk ingests, I believe, 4 or 5 petabytes of data per day. So it's a solution that can grow as large as your enterprise needs it to, and it has distributed architecture on the back end, meaning that you can scale out and out and out as you grow. So that's all great, but what are people actually using it for in terms of those use cases? How do we get from that sort of architectural considerations of what Splunk is to actually some value? What are people using from it? Well, Splunk helps you manage the entire life cycle of an event, from identifying the root cause to what's going on, to actually monitoring the performance, analyzing and acting to predict and prevent any future issues that are coming related to that incident or event. At the start is the ability to investigate. So this is something's happened. We've got data in Splunk. It's structured. Let's ask it the questions we need to see why this thing happened. So why is there an outage? Why is there an issue? Going back and retrospectively looking at what happened and having all that data to ask the questions you need to. Monitoring, getting to the stage where, regardless of the format of your infrastructure, whether it's on-premise, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's a combination of the two, whether it's the most complex and crazy architecture of any business, Splunk enables you to actually monitor and see in real time what's going on and ensure that you can see an idea of how everything is being affected across that broad infrastructure, and ensure that problems are rectified as quickly as possible or even before they occur. Analyze is all about having this huge base of data all on a time series level, so you can actually start to develop and leverage AI technologies to find the needle in the haystack of what's causing alerts, reduce alert noise, and help, again, prevent problems even before they occur, because you've been able to predict that with that AI technology. And act. Crucially, getting to the stage where you have defined workflows of what you would do as humans responding to these incidents, being able to automate these actions so that the people in your IT and security and application teams and all the teams in your business are able to focus on the important issues and ensure that repeatable actions can be activated automatically. So that's broadly what Splunk is in terms of what are people mostly using it for. What's the value in terms of today's challenges? Well, again, there's sort of 4 main areas. Remote working insights is clearly the one that we're most focusing on today, but it's all about getting visibility into VPN and collaboration tool usage. So on the one hand, being able to ensure that the people working for your company are kept secure and able to conduct their work in a safe way, free from your internal company network, so on your VPNs now, spreading further out, but also ensuring that they're able to access the applications and tools that enable them to do their job and enable your business to continue functioning as it has done previously before at the times that we're currently faced by in a normal fashion. Secondly, ensuring business continuity. So this is more around managing any surges in demand across your systems that you may have had off the back of this pandemic. If you work for one of the lucky businesses, well, I say lucky, one of the fortunate businesses that are still able to continue and react to digital needs. And also the ability to ensure that you're innovating and integrating your development and operations teams to ensure quick development and quick deployment of applications that customers are going to need right now that you might have spent longer in previous times developing and timing for market release. So one final slide before I get on to the specifics of what we're offering from a remote working perspective. And again, this is to sort of enable you, if you're someone who isn't massively familiar with Splunk, to get an idea of how this all fits in and why I'm talking about this security platform and this IT operations platform and this DevOps platform. Well, the truth is it's this wide base here. So Splunk, because it's a platform that can bring any data in from any source and can ask any question of it, it means that there's a huge amount you can do from it. And that can be somewhat intimidating at first if you're not someone who's used Splunk before, because it's very different from the idea of having a point solution that does one specific thing. But of course, the benefit of that is that when we come into areas such as now, when we are faced with new challenges like remote working, you can leverage that data that you've already got in Splunk and actually start to solve problems as and when they come about. So the way in which we enable all of the data to come in and be presented and allow you to do very specific things with it is the concept of apps and add-ons. So we have an online app library where the vast majority is free. So all the ones you see on this 1,000+ Splunk apps and 800+ Splunk add-ons are free. We have a few very deep dive technical solutions up here, which are again almost separate products that we build and have dedicated development teams, so they are premium. But all of these apps and add-ons that you see here are developed free and enable businesses to leverage their data. So for example, if you've got AWS data, we have an AWS add-on which enables you to get that data formatted in easily into Splunk, and then an AWS app which contains all of the visualizations for that data type that AWS and Splunk think that you might have value in seeing. And this means that if you're using one of these particular technologies, so I've used AWS there, but you'll see a few here, things like Docker, Slack, Azure, loads of different areas, Cisco, loads of different technologies and loads of different areas. But if you're using one of those tools and you're not sure actually what the value is in that data and what you get out of it, the benefit is that by having this app and add-on, it gives you a view into what Cisco, for example, think would be valuable with their data because they know it best. So that's sort of how it works with the concept of doing specific things. You have this base platform, you use customizable applications which provide dashboards and alerts to determine of all that pre-built content what are the things that are specifically important to you. And then Remote Working Insights, the solution that we're talking about here, is a mixture of apps and add-ons, again, that we think are specifically tooled to solving this new issue. So the main side of Remote Work Insights, and again, I think it's important to stress that these are free apps and add-ons, which if you're already a Splunk customer, you can go ahead right now and start downloading and getting to grips with and ensuring that you gain this visibility. These are free apps and add-ons which are fully customizable. They give you an idea of a base template of what we think are the things that might be usable, and then you can adapt and update that as best you want to show the things that are most important to you. So this first one that we're seeing here is, and this is the one I'll be giving a demonstration on, is the Remote Working Insights Executive Dashboard. And this is developed specifically for customers responding to COVID-19 by monitoring every aspect of remote work, which could pose new challenges to the ones that you previously faced. So it's about ensuring that, as I said earlier, you've still got that real-time visibility, all those key benefits which the underlying Splunk platform has. But now this power is being used specifically to monitor are employees able to correctly access our corporate network through VPN? Are they able to access all the applications which they need through SSO access to actually do their job properly? And are they able to replicate all of the interactions that they would have in an office environment with video conferencing? This is an app which we developed and released on the 31st of March. So it's only been out for 6 weeks, and it is constantly changing. So the various dashboards and compatibilities have been updated in the time that I've been talking and presenting these to different customers and different partners through webinars. And it's something that's going to continue to change more. So this is something which is very short the cycle to release, and we're continually updating and reacting to the new challenges that people are experiencing. So as I said, yeah, it was released very recently. It enables you to have that real-time visibility, and it's sort of a living app. It's receiving frequent updates, and we're adapting to the things we need. But as I said before, this application is, and that's kind of why you need to get this idea of the wider Splunk platform sort of correctly down, is that it's part of a wider set of things that we're doing to ensure that you're able to work efficiently and continue doing all the things you were doing, but remotely now. So for people who use Splunk on-premise, so this is where they just download the software onto your servers and you host it for yourselves. We have a curated collection of apps, which I'll show in a couple of slides. Technical add-ons, again, which enable you to get that data in, which we think would be valuable. So mostly based around VPN network tools, collaboration tools, SSO stuff. I'll show you again a diagram in a few slides to make that clearer. Some blogs and examples on what we're seeing customers using and how people have been able to leverage this, and a number of sample searches and best practices to ensure that you'll be able to get these deployed quickly and efficiently. We also at Splunk offer a cloud solution, so that's where we host your Splunk environment on AWS, and I believe very soon, or actually at the moment, Google Cloud as well. So a partnership was announced very recently, but I believe it's going out in June or July. And as part of that, we're offering something called the RWI Autobahn, which is essentially where we offer that free Splunk environment for 90 days to ingest all of the data relevant to your remote working infrastructure, and with free professional services, and enable you to get that monitoring capability. Again, something that we're doing to ensure that at a time where purse strings are probably quite tight, you're still able to actually react to these new challenges by implementing technologies that you need to. So that covers the majority of the slides, I think. So now it's time to show you a little bit of the Remote Working Insights Executive Dashboard actually in action. So this is the Remote Working Insights Executive Dashboard. It focuses around 3 key areas that we internally at Splunk were trying to solve for our own workforce regarding how to keep and maintain your company's connectedness. The first is your remote workforce connected? Are there any unusual drop-offs? Are they able to engage, but also is there a security implication by what's going on? Are they able to stay productive and continue to run business as they were before? And are they able to continue to engage with each other? And at a high level, this is about seeing metrics from VPN connectivity, remote web conferencing, and what are the most popular apps people are employing to stay connected and productive. You'll see here that we're using Zoom specifically here. Over here, this is Okta SSO data being used to manage which apps people are engaging, and over here is Palo Alto Global Protect VPN. But a dashboard, and this dashboard specifically, has no dependencies on the vendors or products that you employ. These are just the technologies that we use at Splunk internally for these things. So all of applications on our online directories, our online libraries rather, are fully editable and adaptable. And here it would just be a case of just bringing in an alternate data source to replicate these things if you use different technologies. So the first point of call is this page here, which is the high-level executive dashboard. Again, you can see from a VPN side of things how many connected workers do we currently have. Are they having any issues with it? So firstly, how many successes are we having? How many failures are we having? And what is the success rate? So we can see we're having a number of issues today, or rather a huge number compared to how we have done previously. So again, it's that ability to leverage that time-based platform to see what is normal, what works, what doesn't work. Is 5,000 errors normal for us? Is it not? It turns out it isn't normal, or certainly isn't compared to recent periods of time. From a Zoom perspective, have we seen a massive drop-off or a massive increase in the number of meetings? Is something going up? Are people not able to access it? And metrics as well. So this is just things you can get out of Zoom, things like average meeting duration. And then over on this right-hand side over here, seeing what's the most popular app people are accessing, but also for the most popular apps that people are accessing, are we seeing any strange habits? So for example, here, we can see that Salesforce is usually our most commonly accessed one, but today we've seen a massive drop-off. Does this mean that Salesforce specifically has an issue? Also down here, you'll see that we have the ability to do geo lookups based on the IP addresses that people are accessing our networks from. So you can see where your connected workforce is coming from in the world. Again, this is a really useful just key identifier for, on a security level, things like the Superman test. So is someone suddenly in a different location when they're usually in a different one in a suspicious amount of time? Clearly at this point in time, any amount of time is a suspicious amount of time, given that the vast majority of your workforce is probably on some element of lockdown and it's unlikely to be globe-trotting around the world. So again, being able to add that context to your machine data and actually make it visually useful in a way which can solve real problems. So let's go on to the Zoom Ops dashboard first. And on here, we've got a number of different metrics being shown. Immediately, this is a little bit worrying. So we can see all the top diagrams up here suggest that we're not actually having any meetings at this exact moment in time, which for a company of our size is a bit of a concern. So we're seeing here things like the number of active meetings occurred in the last 24 hours, how many people are currently participating in meetings, longest meeting, average meeting, how are habits in terms of efficiencies of overtime and on-time working, are people having issues actually getting everyone up to speed and connected, and is that causing meetings to be delayed? So I know Zoom meetings I've been in, and I imagine it's the same for a number of people on here. Initially, when everyone was locked down, it was a bit of a case of waiting 10 minutes for everyone to download the right things and get audio and visual connected. I think we're better at that now. But again, something worth monitoring. Down here, other data that comes out from Zoom, so areas like what actually type of meeting is it? Is this a recurring meeting? Is this a scheduled meeting? Is someone just using a personal meeting ID? That's a potential security risk. I think that's been covered a number of times in the media in recent weeks about Zoom. And also on the instant meeting side of things, are these just spontaneous meetings that people are using to try and solve issues as then and then? Also from an access perspective, what are the devices people are using? Again, could be something that's useful from a troubleshooting issue. You can see correlations between issues people are having actually accessing in the first place and the devices that they're using. And also some interesting metrics down here on how large these meetings and what's going So if we return now to that high-level executive view dashboard, having looked into the Zoom side of things, there are some issues there, but the key things that are jumping out to me as being things that we have to now go investigate are, firstly, it appears that there's been some drop-off in popular apps today in terms of usage, but crucially, looks like a number of people are having issues internally with our VPN. So the first one that I'm going to investigate is actually on the app side of things over here. If I click on any of the bars on this dashboard, I can drill down. So that's another cool feature about Splunk, is that all of these dashboards are interactable. I can change the time period that they're using, so I could use a real-time period if I wanted to. Here, I'm just going to use the last 60 minutes, and that updates all the visualizations. And I've drilled down and transferred from that high-level dashboard to now the one that's specifically giving me more information about the graph I clicked on. So we're on authentication ops here. This, as I said before, is all data taken from, in our case, Okta, but any sort of workforce identity tool that you have. I can see how many successes we've had as a percentage of authentication, and also context here with Sparkline. So is 80% good or bad? I don't know, but I can see that it's drastically down from where it was previously in the last 24 hours before it dropped down there. So maybe there's some sort of issue over that time period. I can see how many, just the raw number. So again, you sort of need the context of how many employees you have for that to be useful. But I can see using the Sparkline how that has changed in terms of regularity. And then going further down, I can see is our number of successes changed in terms of raw number. So are we getting a load of failures because someone's trying to brute force in? That would be suggested by a sudden spike here. Are we getting someone trying to do a scripted attack on our VPN, in which case we get sort of regular bumps of that? Or are people who would already be accessing just having issues? So again, it's going to depend on things like what's useful for you in terms of logins, when are people typically accessing your corporate network. But here we can see that the actual success number was reasonably constant. It's just we had started having a huge number of failures. So that sort of adds to the tools that we need to, the information that we have for this investigation. In terms of reason, now this is really valuable now, we're actually seeing the reason why this is happening. Is it something as simple as invalid credentials or login failed? In this case, we can see lining up with when people start to fail, this green line here, which says login denied, no matching user is assigned to Radius app, Palo Alto Networks VPN Radius. So it sounds like some sort of issue with valid user accounts actually linking in with our VPN. That's something, again, that adds to that wider picture when we're doing this forensic investigation to work out why this is going on. Further down, we can see the applications that are having the highest lowest percentage of success, highest percentage of failures. And we can see that we've got things here like Dialpad, JobSite, Snowflake. If we go to the next page, there's plenty more that have this very low percentage. So it's unlikely that this is an issue with our Okta. It is likely this is an issue with people accessing our VPN in general. It's unlikely this is individual issues with each of these apps, because it looks fairly across the board that people are having trouble. Are there any people are having success with? We can see people are having success with Zoom and People AI here in particular. So again, that gives you a bit more information as to are there any differences in how people access this through the VPN. So the final dashboard is the VPN side of things. We've gone through, seen that there's that issue with Radius for Palo Alto Networks. And again, here is a fully customizable dashboard, this time on the VPN side of things, that I can use to filter down over a specific period of time. Here we're seeing where people are connecting, but also where people are connecting by failure and success. So it looks like globally we're having, most people are successing. There doesn't seem to be a high percentage of failures, but in the US in particular, there is a number of failures. So is it an issue with the VPN over there? Is the volume just bigger? These are, again, things that we can factor into our investigation. Where are people accessing, both by country and city? Are we seeing a sudden spike in an area where we don't have an active workforce? That could be suspicious. How does our failures correspond to our successes in general? What are the reasons for login failure? Now, this time on our VPN, so invalid username or password is quite large, as you expect. But again, here we see, okay, we're now seeing access request failed, error request failed during MFA poll loop timeout. So it seems like people are timing out because there's some sort of back-end issue going on there. Again, how does the successful versus failed logins correspond by number of unique users that are on our network? And again, these login reasons here, but now as a sort of over time, how much of a breakdown has that been? Going down here, we now actually start to enable ourselves to be forensic. So we're seeing the raw logs that were causing issues. And if we click on one of those, we actually drill down to the sort of brain of Splunk, which is the base search area where you can enter search queries, search on the raw data in time series format, and start to pick out fields and field values that are worth investigating. So here we can see that it appears authentication failed here, request is failing during MFA poll loop timeout. So it seems there is some sort of issue with our back-end network hardware. I can then send these logs and I can save this as a particular report or an alert, export this and share this with our network personnel, and they can ensure that the back-end tooling is rebooted using these specific error codes that are in these logs, and that we're able to get everyone online as quickly as possible. If you don't have this available to you, the only way you're going to find this out is firstly getting reported from your workforce that there are issues, and then secondly trying to actually work out by trial and error what's the actual issue in the system that's causing this. So that sort of concludes the executive dashboard demo. Hopefully that gives you sort of better idea now in terms of context of what I was talking about and the solutions that we're offering there. In terms of that's great. Hopefully it looks interesting, and if it is something that you're interested in sort of pursuing, how can you actually get started? Well, firstly, this is all of the technologies that we link in as part of this remote work insight solution. So in the actual application, we have specifically network security, collaboration, and MFA tools. But all of these, along with Office 365, are included in that Autobahn, which I mentioned before. And I'll go into a bit more detail of a specific slide later. But also, if you're currently a Splunk customer, you can, or even if you're not, you can download the free version of it and start to investigate with these particular apps. So cloud services, virtualization containers, app performance monitoring, operation service desk. So all these things that would be useful to you from a remote working insights point of view, you can go to Splunk base and download. But also, I believe at the end, you can contact. There's a way through the end survey to say that you're interested in that remote working insights app that I just showed you. And if you are, your Bytes representative will reach out to you with more information on that. Here are a few of the apps and add-ons, which, again, I'm not going to dwell too much on this because it's quite a boring slide. It's just a list, but these are all the various apps and add-ons and compatibilities that we have and suggest that you should use for remote working insights. So, for example, if you're a VPN user, but you thought, okay, they're using Palo Alto Networks, it's not very relevant for me. There are all the different technologies that we have apps and add-ons for. So if you are a FortiGate user, there's tools for that, Cisco, etc. There's loads there, and there's a few others in other areas, and also some things like SaaS visibility, asset inventory, protecting against risks that have come out specifically around COVID-19. These are just a sample of some of the technologies we have. So again, just on the Autobahn piece, this is a cloud-based solution, which is, so we're hosting and working with you to get that data in completely free, a Splunk instance for 90 days. So you see here it's leveraging the Microsoft Office 365, so it leverages the executive dashboard that I showed you earlier, but also specific technologies that are on board as part of that. And it's an opportunity to actually get our enterprise product completely free through the fact that it can help you at this point on ensuring that your remote working is being secure and also effective. So if you're interested in that, again, probably worth something mentioning it in that end survey that you're interested with. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully that was interesting and helpful. If you have any questions at all, please ask them, and I'll try my best to answer them, or someone else on this panel will try their best. I guess that means handing back over to you, David.
Thank you so much, Rupert. That's perfect. If anybody does have any questions, as Rupert said, please just pop them in the questions box and we will get those answered for you. As he also said, if you wouldn't mind just filling out the survey just at the end, we really love to hear your feedback, so it'll be really handy to us. Okay, so will there be any technical assistance from Splunk during the 90-day period to get this set up?
Yeah, so as part of the Autobahn program, there is free professional services to help you onboard the data.
Perfect, thank you. If anybody else has any questions, do email tellmemore@bytes.co.uk, or you can just pop it in the survey at the end. So if there's no further questions, then I think we'll leave it there. So thank you to Rupert and David for presenting today, and thank you all for joining. I hope you found it valuable. So as I mentioned earlier, I will just pop the recording to you in an email later on today. But thank you everyone, and I hope you have a lovely day.